Wes leads customer and product strategy at Add-in 365 and has been working with Microsoft 365 since its 2007 release. He's led the delivery of Microsoft 365 implementations for some of the most organisationally complex companies, including WPP, Arup, TSB Bank and Atkins. And I, for one, can honestly say that my business would have fallen flat on its face had it not been for Microsoft 365 when the pandemic first hit. So thank you for that. And over to you, Wes.
All right, brilliant, thank you. So we're going to talk about employee experience, and Microsoft have got a big focus on employee experience at the moment. It's something that they recognised in the last 2 years needed improvement. They'd often been delivering software solutions that were very service orientated, and they now recognise that people don't consume SharePoint or Teams or OneDrive. They consume an activity during their day. So at Add-in 365, we specialise in helping organisations use the Microsoft 365 services in that fashion. So we love sharing our stories. We've done it on the Microsoft stage at Ignite. We've recently, in November, did it for the Institute of Internal Communications. And we like talking about how customers are getting the best out of Microsoft 365. So what we're going to talk about today applied to a lot of different scaled organisations, complexities of organisations, even geographic dispersion in the sense of different countries, as well as first line and office-based workers. So all across that spectrum of organisations. Industry-wise, again, a broad experience with our organisation. We've got WPP, that large media agency. We've got ASM, semiconductor manufacturers. So all of the tools and things that we're going to talk about can apply to any organisation, really. So I want to start by talking about brand alignment, because historically, when somebody said brand alignment, everybody leaps to, what does it look like? What colours have we used? What images have we got on the homepage? And they stop there, and they don't think about any depth behind that. It's just, we've done the artwork, we've delivered the artwork to the organisation, and we stopped. In the last 2 years, brand alignment has gone way beyond that. It's now stepping into the space of, like, how do you onboard new employees? What's the tone of voice that you use to engage with certain demographics and certain skill roles? How do you make sure that those people stay with you and they stay in the family of your organisation and don't leave to go to get their next role? So brand alignment is becoming broader. It's becoming a touch point for an organisation. And especially as we've got this kind of hybrid working model. We've got some people that are still coming into their office desk on a Monday through Friday. We've got some that do it a couple of days a week. We've got some that have never stepped foot in a building for the company they worked for, and they don't intend to. So that breadth of engagement that's required to reach those people, how do you make sure they understand who they are and why they have an emotional connection to your organisation? So brand alignment's really deep and is getting an incredible focus from marketing teams, HR teams, and internal communications teams. So at Add-in 365, we have a number of products that sit inside the SharePoint and the Teams ecosystem to help an organisation deliver that brand, deliver those site experiences, those Teams experiences, those meeting experiences, to help just bolster the kind of marketing aspirations of, okay, everything looks as it should, or the internal communications layout and user experience design. We have always gone through detailed discovery of what we need from user scenarios and how we get our employees to use the tool as it should be. But as soon as it went out into the ecosystem, if it wasn't the intranet team delivering it, it stopped. So we've got some tools to kind of overcome that. And we've also got some leveraged experience. We saw those customer roster, and we've taken a distillation of those experiences that those organisations have delivered, and we've made it available as a starter template. So if you want to talk about what a department area should look like that is talking about the department's capability, we have one of those. If you want to talk about an employee centre, bring together multiple departments, finance, HR, learning and development, and bring them together to face forward into your organisation, we have one of those. Now, these templates give you the kind of something to touch and feel as you start that engagement. So rather than a blank sheet of paper and sitting in a workshop for weeks upon weeks, you have something instantly that you can start critiquing. So you can say, okay, well, let's have a look at this. What do we think about the fact that the community template has an etiquette page? Well, we haven't written etiquette. Okay, well, so we need to go and write an etiquette as an organisation of how we use conversation to problem solve. So we take those templates, we'll take you through the workshopping experience, and the final part is applying the look and feel, the artwork experience onto the top. So here, I'm going to show you a shortened demo of creating an employee centre. So hopefully it starts. There we go. So here we are on the normal SharePoint Create Site page. So this might be your IT team that control this, or you might be able to do this yourself. But what you're doing is you're asking for a new site. You want to put some content somewhere. So once that site is created, you get an empty vessel. It's the blank sheet of paper experience. And that's hard because at that point, does your organisation, do all the business teams in your organisation understand the best way to lay out the content and use your tone of voice as they do it? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe you've got a big change management program in flight that helps them understand that. But we can accelerate it. We can give them a ready-to-fill-in site. So I've picked the employee hub because that's what I want to create. And Site Builder is now spinning up, and it's going to go through for about a couple of minutes. I have shortened it so we haven't got to watch the progress bar. But for a couple of minutes, it's spinning up nearly 150 pages of laid out content, and it's the paint by numbers experience. So you have huge benefits to that in the sense that you can talk to the team that would own the page and say, this is what your page will look like. These are the 5 paragraphs you've got to write, and we think it will be about 2 hours that you're going to need to fill it in. So because it's not blank sheet, you've got certainty to deliver, which obviously was important in the last few months into 2021 because people needed to do things fast. We heard in the last session, responding to government stimuli. It was hours, days that things were being turned around. And again, when you don't have some of those sites, you need to stand them up quickly. A paint by numbers approach is a great way to get the vast 80% of the content you need in the right place, in the right fashion, very quickly, to give you a solid foundation to build from. So I'll skip into just letting it finish. And what we're going to see is that site that looked very Microsoft-y is suddenly going to spin out into a teal version of our standard employee center template. So that's got a ready-to-use user experience. It's thought through. We've got content prioritization. We've got a welcome. We've got the services that the employee center provides. We've got career journeys because we want to retain our staff. We're thinking about that. We've got experts we can reach out to, and we've got the events that the employee can attend. We're now going to look at the menu, and we can see the depth to this site. So again, that paint by numbers is not just the homepage like we traditionally have delivered in internet scenarios. It's the entire site depth. There is 100 and something pages of content to go and fill in. And you don't necessarily have to fill in everything. You can just take the boilerplate because in some places it is that generic. When you're talking about requesting holiday leave, you just need to link to that system. So those give us lots of accelerators and consistency. And it's an incredibly capable set of experiences. It works on mobile, it's ready to use, and it sits inside SharePoint. So if you're using Office 365, you can put this in and it's ready to use. So I'll step away from that technology for a second and talk about some of our customer projects from the last 6 to 9 months. So if you've ever driven on a UK road, you might have seen a Wincanton lorry. They're a UK-based logistics firm. They're more than just taking pallets from one place to another or delivering to a supermarket. They have a huge number of sectors they're involved with. They're actually helping to build some of the power stations in the UK. They deal with e-fulfillment, and the fact that in the last 2 years most people are using some form of online shopping, behind that is a lot of Wincanton. So Wincanton have taken Site Builder, Page and Creative Kit, and they've leveraged their brand, which is brand new. So that again was released last year, and they've got sort of 4 of these examples. We've got new employee onboarding. So strategically, one of their biggest objectives was not to lose people. Show people the opportunities. If you're working in distribution, there's some opportunities in e-fulfillment. So rather than leave our organisation and go to a competitor to get your next enjoyable role, why not look at what we can provide and onboard? So their employee onboarding centre is more than just net new people to their organisation. It's supporting the migration of people from role to role and from place to place. Next up, community. Again, Microsoft talk about community as only Yammer. You know, they say Yammer communities, communities, communities. We've got a section here, which is the conversational part of the community. It's wrapped with a deeper experience. It's wrapped with events. It's wrapped with news from that community. It's wrapped with calls to action, part of that SharePoint experience. So again, you're thinking about cross-services. We're not delivering slices. We're not rolling Yammer out. We're putting a community into the ecosystem and all the good things that go with it. Next up, there's their version of the employee centre. So you saw the green teal that matched the sort of SharePoint look and feel. This is one with a brand applied to it. Same structure, filled in this instance. And then finally, a landing page. And we're going to talk about landing pages on a mobile at the end of this session. But landing pages, again, we've got this audience targeting that we can do. 25% of their organisation sit at desks. 75% of their organisation are driving trucks, are driving forklifts, are walking around a warehouse, are doing all kinds of different roles. So this working on a mobile and on a desktop and being targeted to my role is really important. On to another customer, Wales and West Utilities, gas supply company over in the West Country in Wales. And again, it's just showing you how those templates with a different artwork layer are still fairly consistent. So these are still their templates that have got subtle differences between Wincanton and WWU, but they feel consistent. So that user experience has been accepted as, well, actually, this is a good 80-20 rule. We've got 80% of the stuff quickly deployed. Very small communications team. 3 people in this communications team had to deploy their entire intranet, not like just the bit about news. They had to deploy their entire intranet with just those resources. They used this capability to get it stood up really quickly. Signant Health, pharmaceutical clinical trials management, involved in a lot of the COVID trialling, or the COVID vaccination trialling. And again, they've used those 2 capabilities to instill their artwork and their brand. And also, they had a huge focus on career and progression and check-in. They're a digital company. They write software to do those trial management. So moving people around and getting different parts of the US to work with European countries and how those happen. We can see here locations feature. They are spread all over the place. They have trialing centres. They have all kinds of places to work. So again, just different aspects. Agri, a little-known company. Very small, probably, well, I say very small, 250 people, so it's on the smaller end of the organisation, but highly focused. So they supply fertiliser and seeds, so help the entire UK growing community with the right technical data. They've got a highly specialised targeting experience. So if I'm an agronomist, somebody who advises on seed purchase and fertiliser purchase, I might be a specialist in potato or salad. And I have a landing page which is all about potato. So I can understand that, hey, we're in March, and therefore these are the things I need to do, these are the products I need to be pushing, this is the CRM information coming through. So again, it's a tailoring of that experience alongside things like a good landing page. So I think, you know, it's less corporate content there, more useful. They've got 250,000 technical documents, and they use this platform to give that to the agronomy team, which is about 45 people. MediaCom, part of WPP, again, just to give you the flavour of cross-industry and cross-colour palette. This is very pink and white. That's their colourway. Again, they deal with some of the world's biggest brands, so branding and look and feel is really important for them. And they're using those capabilities. This is the brand centre, so talking about how to share brand information, colourways and stuff like that. St James's Place. I've put this one in because St James's Place relaunched their brand, their visual identity, about a month ago. And they had an existing intranet we delivered over the last 9 months. And over the course of a weekend, it went from gold and blue to turquoise and white. And it was the same tools that took the existing brownfield ecosystem, reapplied the artwork to it, and left everybody with very little to do apart from click the button, apply the new template to reapply those pieces. So 365 can do all of those things for you with planning. On to mobile experiences. So I mentioned Viva Connections. It's part of that Microsoft Viva platform. What I'm going to show you is the mobile view. So here we have the mobile view. It's part of Microsoft Teams. So I often get asked, which apps do you need to get this working? You just need the Teams app on a device. And what happens is you can see you've got chat and Teams and calendar, and then you've got your corporate intranet, your Viva Connections. And as part of that, on the mobile, prioritises dashboard. So think of dashboard as all your little apps that you need, targeted for you, very individual. For this entire set of show and tells, I've got a fictitious team member who's just joined our organisation. So I want to make sure Susie, in this case, has information at their fingertips. So we've got an experience. There's the video. This could be interesting if it's not going to play. Oh, there we go. So we've got an experience there where we've got different tiles. I'm in week 3 of my onboarding, so I get tailored information. So if you're thinking about, okay, we're trying to help somebody on board, and they might be fully remote, how can I bring the intranet to them? How can I bring suggestions of the content they should consume at a point in time? Again, that targeting on the Viva Connections experience allows us to do that. We can sort of put a 6-month plan in place of what do we want to promote? How do we want people to experience this content and deliver it into it? Connecting with people. So again, organizations are looking at how do we connect people, especially in a remote scenario. And we've got the option here of promoting a buddy. So my team members got me as their buddy, and they can kick off a chat. So it's a simple leap into Teams conversation, something they could do, but it's prompting them to do that. It's reminding them that they've got an onboarding buddy, that they are supported as they go on and get used to our organisation. So we can use that power of being integrated with Teams immediately from the Viva Connections experience. Next up, we've got news and feed. So you can see there's a middle tab called feed. And what that's doing is it's a bit like Twitter. It goes across your ecosystem and it says, right, any news that you could see, any announcements in Yammer, any things that you've seen in terms of the news ecosystem, it's going to drop into a chronology in that feed experience. Microsoft will deliver some very cool things into that space. If you've ever seen the sort of stories in Instagram, that might appear there at some point. So you've got kind of micro-blogging experience as well. We can also obviously incorporate the homepage style news roll-up, top 4 articles that are targeted to me. And then when I go onto my feed, I can see I've got my conversations. So we're combining Yammer in that community experience. The feed is then showing me the community engagement, and I've got saved content to the foot of that. So as I go around my ecosystem, I can kind of put my bookmarks on content, and it's another good place to get those pieces. Okay, so again, if you want to know more, you can speak to myself. We've got a standout in the hall, or you can email that particular email address.
Lovely. Thank you, Wes. That was great. If anyone's got any quick questions for Wes, I'm sure he'd be happy to take them. Otherwise, we'll move on to the Chris Whittle film from Snapcons, or you can go and have some lunch, whichever. Okay, questions? Anyone? No. Oh yes, gentleman there.
You mentioned that if you go into a site, it gives you 180 assets on the page and such.
Yep.
Is it easy to remove a larger chunk of that you have to go through?
Yeah, sure. So the question is, if you take one of those site template starters and it contains more than you need, as part of the workshop we do at that discovery stage of saying, hey, look, there's an employee centre. This is everything we think you need. You could say, well, 35 pages of that, get rid of them. We'll take those out, and your version would be minus those 35 pages. So it would be delivering just what your organisation wants. But we start from this is the entirety of what you could deliver. And again, some organisations do the cutaway initially, and they sort of have that on ice, and then they bring that back, those elements back in as they evolve that experience as well. So it's fully flexible in both scenarios.
Lovely. Thank you, Wes. Great.